Washington Congress approved a 2-week stopgap measure on Thursday that will avoid a government shutdown this weekend, pushing until just before Christmas a broader possible showdown over spending priorities, immigration, and health care. The measure, which the House and Senate passed in quick succession, would fund the government through December 22. President Trump is expected to sign it. Along with enacting historic tax reform, we'll be working together in the next 2 weeks to find a long-term solution to our funding needs while maintaining fiscal discipline, said Speaker Paul D. Ryan of Wisconsin. The approval came as congressional leaders from both parties met with Mr. Trump at the White House to talk about the thicket of issues facing lawmakers as the end of the year approaches. In negotiations this month, Democrats plan to press to shield from deportation undocumented immigrants brought to the country as children. Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky and the majority leader, has pledged to support the passage of bipartisan legislation intended to stabilize health insurance markets under the Affordable Care Act. Lawmakers also want to provide tens of billions of dollars in response to this year's hurricanes and wildfires, and they need to provide funds for the Children's Health Insurance Program, whose financing lapsed at the end of September. All of these issues loom as Republicans move ahead with their effort to pass an ambitious rewrite of the tax code, which would amount to their first major legislative achievement of Mr. Trump's presidency. The meeting at the White House on Thursday was successful in one basic sense: congressional leaders from both parties participated. Democratic leaders pulled out of a meeting with Mr. Trump last week after he fired off a Twitter post attacking them and saying he did not foresee reaching a deal. This time, in brief remarks from the Oval Office, Mr. Trump and the Democratic leaders struck a hopeful tone. "We're all here as a very friendly, well-unified group," Mr. Trump said. "We're here in the spirit of 'let's get it done,'" said Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the Democratic leader in the Senate. "We are here to make progress," said Representative Nancy Pelosi of California, the Democratic leader in the House, pointing to issues like health insurance for children, opioids, and helping veterans. Afterward, the White House press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, characterized the session as constructive, as did congressional leaders from both parties. Government funding is set to expire at the end of Friday, and the stopgap measure would provide more time for negotiations between Republicans and Democrats on overall spending levels for the 2018 fiscal year. Party leaders are in talks to raise strict spending caps that were imposed in 2011, with the Trump administration and Republicans in Congress particularly eager to raise the limit on military spending. Democrats are insisting that the limit on non-defense spending be increased by the same amount. After a deal is reached, the two parties can negotiate a long-term spending package.